welcome everyone. My name is Lauren Hedges. I'm a representative of Hackforge. I would like to welcome you all to the C3Tech Cyclist Town Hall. This is going to be an informal event where everyone gets to share their ideas. Before we get deeper into that though, I want to welcome City Councillor and Chair of the City of Windsor Bicycling Committee, Kieran McKenzie.
Lauren, thank you very much. And thank you everybody for being here this evening. This is the first, so we're the pioneers in all of this. Town hall that we're going to conduct in terms of the development of this cycling app is a very exciting initiative. And it's the result of there's already been a tremendous amount of work that's been undertaken to bring us to this point. Tonight is a crucial step in all of this process. So thank you so much everyone for taking time out of your busy day to be here with us, because if we don't get the community engagement that we hope to be able to get through these types of events, we're not going to be able to build this app in the way that is going to really serve the needs of the community. And that's what's brought us here together. The partners here, obviously Hackforge, Lauren is here with us, and then Parallel 42, Doug Sartori's wonderful company that does all kinds of great work in the community for a number of different groups, organizations, and businesses. Obviously Hackforge, as I mentioned, the City of Windsor here, and I want to welcome any of my colleagues who sit on the Windsor Bike Committee who are here with us this evening as well. Thank you for your support through this process and engagement. And of course, our county partners through the Countywide Active Transportation group, CWATS as it's known, is also a partner, and their partnership has actually turned this into a regional initiative rather than just a City of Windsor initiative, which is a great thing as well. So I don't want to take up too much time because we have a really important discussion to get into here this evening. But once again, just really do appreciate everybody's willingness to be a part of this, because we're going to build this thing together, and I think we're going to turn it into something great together. So with that, I'll turn it back to Lauren, and really excited just to dive into the discussion that we're about to have. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kieran. I do want to point out to everyone as well that Kieran is really the one who spearheaded this entire project. If it hadn't been him approaching Doug maybe about a year ago now, this project wouldn't be happening and we wouldn't be sitting down to have this conversation today. So thank you so much for that, Kieran. This is exciting and awesome. So in terms of what we are going to be doing tonight, as Kieran mentioned, this is a community project. We don't want to assume that we know what cyclists, what bike riders, however you identify, we don't want to assume what you want out of an app. There are already a ton of cycling apps out there. I'm not even going to get into naming them all because it seems like probably every person on this call uses a different one, and then that still doesn't even cover how many of them there are. So what is the purpose of building a cycling app if there are already so many? We're looking to build something that is very, very specific to Windsor. We want something that can cover all of our local bike paths, that can let you know where repair stations are, where bike shops are, that can let you know which roads are best suited for your comfort level or the type of bike that you're riding. Some of these features are already available if you visit windsor-essex-cycling.ca, but there's still always room for improvement. So what we're hoping tonight is for you all to share your thoughts about what would make you want to use this app or what would make you avoid it. Also, anything that you really, really don't want to see. We have already shared a survey that a great number of people have responded to already. So that has given us a bit of a starting point for tonight. So let me get this Zoom. There we go. I'll zoom in more on this again later on. But for right now, I have a few blocks filled in for what a lot of people have said they want and what a lot of people have said they don't want. Obviously, it's not always going to be that black and white. There will be certain things that some people want and some people don't. And that's what all this excellent middle space is going to be used for. So the format for tonight, if you would like to talk, you can turn on your microphone and your camera. You're more than welcome to do so. But before doing so, please comment in the chat, visible to everyone, that you would like to speak. I will call out your name, and at that point, feel welcome to turn on your camera and or, well, turn on your microphone and or your camera. Definitely we'll need mic in that case. And share your thoughts, share your ideas. If we have two people that want to talk directly to each other rather than through chat, we will allow that as well, but we have to keep everything civil. So whether you are talking through your microphone or talking in the chat, everyone's got to play nice. Anything that is the slightest hint of not playing nice, you're going to get kicked out, unfortunately. So just behave, please. It would be very much appreciated. I don't want to have to kick anybody out tonight. It'll make me feel bad, and then I'll be up all night feeling terrible. So let's just be nice to each other. So you can also feel free to just put your thoughts in the chat, and I will read them out for everyone. If you're not comfortable speaking out loud, you don't want to be seen or heard, that is totally fine. So with that, please feel free to start chatting away. Let me know if you want to talk. Let me know if you have some thoughts that you're just sharing through chat. All is welcome. For right now, let's take a look at some of the information that I already had in here. So you can feel free to start off your comments by building on what we already have or start somewhere else completely, whatever you prefer. So from our survey responses, a lot of people have said they want route suggestions based on safety. Fantastic. This is a feature that is referred to in a number of different ways. One term for this is also comfort mapping. So where depending on how comfortable you are riding a bike, how confident you feel on two wheels, you can get routes that will send you on a specific route to get from A to B. People want to have offline use. So there are a lot of folks out there who just rely on Wi-Fi connections. They don't pay for cellular data. Totally fair and makes sense, especially if you're going to be out in the county where, depending on your server, I work with Freedom Mobile. And if I am on like Highway 3, kind of between like Harrow and Kingsville-ish, I have no service whatsoever. So if I'm riding my bike out there and relying completely on cell phone data, I'm not going to have a good time. So offline use, absolutely. That one we are down for. Information that can't be found on other applications or maps. Love it. Yes, that's exactly what we want. So think about this when you're sharing information tonight. What is some information that you can't find on your current app or map that you would like us to include? We can use that as kind of a way to get this conversation started. Also, people want something that is easy and intuitive to use. I've had a number of people suggest a good benchmark for this as Google Maps. They love the features of Google Maps, how easy it is to use, how clean the user interface is. They just don't always love the routes that it gives. So can we improve on the part that needs improvement while not making the UI worse? That is absolutely a fair goal. So Carrie Geniak, she is saying, I actually don't use any app at all for cycling except for Google Maps, I guess. Awesome, and that's totally fair, Carrie. So I'm curious, when you are cycling, are you usually going somewhere? Are you just out for leisure? Curious to see the response on that. In terms of what, she cycles for work. Like your job is to ride your bike to work. Okay. No, that's good. I would have been really jealous if your job was to ride your bike, but I don't think Windsor has really gotten into bike messengers the way some cities have. But cycling to work, awesome. That makes sense. And I suppose in the case of cycling to work, you don't really, what would you need an app for? You probably know the route that you're going to take, so you might not need anything to help you out there. So if we did make a regional cycling app available, Carrie, what could we do that would help to make it applicable to you and the way that you ride your bike? Give her a second. Again, anyone else, feel free to chime in on the conversations. If you're shy, you can also always feel free to send your message just to me directly, and that's totally cool as well. I've got no issue with that. So while Carrie is thinking up her response, love it. She doesn't know what would make it work best for her, but she's excited to be a part of this. That is the kind of enthusiasm that I like. Thank you, Carrie. I'm into it. I'm curious then to hear, as anything comes up, as you hear or see anything on screen that interests you, please feel free to chime in that you like or don't like something. In terms of what people don't want, the biggest thing is people don't want to pay for it. Totally fair. Subscription apps are no fun. And having to see ads is also no fun. I totally understand that. As we're trying to build something that is very community-based and community-centric, we want to make sure that as many people as possible have access to it. And obviously payment can be a barrier to some. So there are definitely no plans to make this a paid service. So no worries on that front. But I'm sure there could be other things that someone doesn't want to see. So please feel free to let us know what those might be. So Kieran, I'm going to ask you a question now. When you first had this idea of a cycling app for Windsor, was there anything in particular that you pictured it would offer?
Yeah, and thank you for bringing me in. And I was just thinking about Carrie's question. And Carrie, by the way, I know, and I know some folks here would know, is a former chair of the Windsor Bike Committee as well. So thank you for your advocacy, Carrie, over the years on bringing us to where we are now. I know there's a tremendous amount of work that's still in front of us, but certainly whatever, I think a lot of the achievements that we've been able to see is certainly you can take a piece of that as much as a lot of the other folks that are here today. But in terms of the inspiration, or what I was hoping, I mean, this for me, and I think about, and even Carrie, like using it as a commuter cyclist, as a commuter cyclist, you already have a sense of the where the destination is that you're going to. It's the same place most of the times. But one of the things that is happening and that I'm excited about, frankly, is what I see is we are adding to the piece by piece, and slowly but surely might be another way to describe it, too slowly, to the active transportation network in the community right now. And I think that currently we have a council that's keen on continuing to make those investments, and hopefully we're able to elect a group of councillors who's even more keen on continuing to make those types of investments. So as the map and the network continues to develop and grow, my hope is that that what'll happen is rather than having to have people sort of discover these new routes almost haphazardly or by accident, that you'll be able to see them sort of come online and become available in real time. And for folks who are commuter cyclists, yes, you're going to know that route. But for folks who, and Carrie, I think, is somebody who maybe uses their bike more than just to go to and from work, but other just random life events. The various destinations across the entire community is for folks who just want to make active transportation and cycling their primary mode of transportation to get to all of their destinations, whatever they may be, wherever they may be across the entire region. In my mind's eye, this app is the tool that you're going to use to be able to figure out how to get from, I don't know, if you're going to bike, let's say from Windsor to Amherstburg and a specific destination in Amherstburg. There's going to be a number of different ways that you can choose to get there. And we probably know most of the spines that can take you from one place to another on the long trek, but it's those spaces in between the major cycling arteries and how to get there most safely and most efficiently, I think, is something that I think this app could bring some real value to the community. And also there's another piece to it. I think being able to have that digital footprint of the map, of the cycling map in this type of a format rather than a static PDF. And I know Jeff Hagen's here in the meeting today, and I think we all know we can do better than that. And this is a path to bring us to a place where that information about the ongoing improvements that are happening to the cycling infrastructure in the region, to turn it into more of a living thing rather than a much more static thing that it is today. So those are a few of the things that I was thinking about in terms of why we would undertake to do something like this.
Awesome. I love it. And I think that a lot of those ideas are kind of what we've already embodied to help get this project started. Jim has just mentioned that using a map offline and without charge would point the base maps to something like OpenStreetMaps. Jim, it's like you've done this before. That is exactly what we are using, in fact. So if we go right now to Windsor Essex Cycling.ca, what we load up here is our starting point. This is our starting base map. We are using something called Cycle OSM, which is a cycling specific layer of OpenStreetMaps. For anyone unfamiliar with OSM, it is like the Wikipedia of maps, where all of the data in here has been contributed by the population, by everyone. So what we see in here to start with are a number of different trails and routes that are marked. Sometimes they are the trails within, if I go zoom in here and find Black Oak Park, for example, we do have the bike trails in there that are marked off. We can also see some blue lines for bike trails and dotted lines for cycle lanes. So that would be like a bike lane on the side of the street. You can search for points in here and you can draw out some boundaries. We are also using a service called B Router that we have connected for the A to B navigation. So right now, these are just the tools that we are suggesting to our developers as a starting point. Obviously, there are improvements that can be made here. So that's what we're trying to learn a little bit more about tonight, is what we can do to make those improvements. So Sherry says, something I'd like to see is local points of interest specific to cycling. For example, shops where I can buy bike parts or get repairs, public use bike racks, restrooms, etc. Also, great landmarks for cycling, like parks with bike paths, etc., to discover new places to bike. For example, Malden Park has a paved scenic bike path, which you might not realize based on just seeing the green park area on Google Maps. Excellent point. I love all of that, Sherry. Absolutely. The public use bike racks, I think, is a huge one. There are so many times when I have just had to lock my bike up to a parking meter because there's not really anywhere else that I know of to put it. So providing information on bike racks would be great. The bike self-service stations that exist in a few spots throughout the city, if they had more, Kieran, this is maybe something for you, if they had more tools in them, would be really cool to be able to mark off where those are, or maybe report when there is an issue with one of them. Somebody has taken the screwdriver, that sort of thing. But definitely, I love that idea, Sherry. So let's mark off that we want points of interest. So this isn't just landmarks, but also bike racks, service, etc. Love it. Okay. Have some more feedback in here. Can OSM, Cycle OSM, handle temporary conditions? Example, closures for construction. That is an excellent question, Jeff. And I think that's actually something that we are going to be looking into a little bit more with our developers, to find a way to allow that data to be input. Another piece of feedback that I saw more than twice on the survey responses was people wanting to be able to report when a bike lane is blocked or out of commission, whether it's a car parked in the way or construction. People want to be able to share that information. It's kind of a toss-up between whether people wanted to be able to share it for the information of other bikers, or whether they wanted to share it to the city for some sort of action to be taken. But either way, the concept of being able to note lane closures or path closures seems pretty important. So report lane path closures. Text has gone too small there. That's sure good enough. All right. Okay. Sherry says, ooh, air pumps at gas stations, etc. Good one. Air pumps is a great call. So let's make this one bigger. Bike racks, air pumps. Okay. Carrie says, yes, reporting could be part of it. Link it up to Windsor 311. Yes, and Carrie, that is a good point. Why not both? It is important to be able to share information both with the city, people who can take action on it, and other bikers to let them know when they can expect an obstruction. Absolutely. Even if it's something like a large tree branch on a path through Black Oak or another wooded area, absolutely, that's good to let people know about. That could cause some issues. So for sure, reports lane and path closures to other cyclists, and we'll call it 311 for right now. Jana says maybe pointing out bike shops. Absolutely, we will count that as a point of interest. Service bike shops. Something that I saw today that I did not know we had in this area that was really cool was a red van called VeloFix. This is a service that will come out to wherever you are and help you fix your bike. The idea of like those locksmiths that will come out and unlock your car when you lock your keys in it. Same idea, but they will come out and help you change the tire or the chain on your bike, whatever issue you might be having. So cool. Jeff says, if linking to 311 is, oh, I see. Beautiful. Good. Okay, so Jeff is not against the idea of linking to 311. Perfect. I'm into that. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, good. So we're seeing lots of things that we are very interested in catching on this app, which is awesome. And these are definitely tools that will help to make this very specific to Windsor Essex. Something that I think will be very helpful, even just as a base tool of this map, when I've been looking around for cycling paths, I find it very hard to find a map that shows all of the bike trails across the different municipalities. Seems like everyone, Lakeshore, Tecumseh, Amherstburg, has their own map of bike paths and bike trails. But if you wanted to go across the county, kind of your only option is something like Google Maps or CycloSM. So maybe you want to be able to see some more of those connected bike trails. While CWATS is admittedly great, they really only manage the trails that go between municipalities, right? So they could take you from Amherstburg to Lakeshore, but once you're like in the municipality of Lakeshore, they're not really covering the different trails to help get you around in there. So that, just as a native function of this app, I think is going to bring a lot of benefit to cyclists. I know I'm really looking forward to having something convenient that I can use in such a manner. So that's going to be a really big highlight of this for me when it is ready to go. Okay, oh, we have somebody else joining. Admit. Okay, so no other messages yet, no problem. Okay, so let's go take a look again at our bike map and what we currently have available through Windsor Essex Cycling.ca. We were talking about Malden Park a few minutes ago. So if we zoom in here, what we can see, right, and even just some of these performance issues, the zooming not working nicely with me, we can sort out stuff like that as well. So what we can see is this dotted brown line running through here, that is noting bike paths. Now, what does the dotted brown line mean? That is when we get into going through our admittedly overly extensive legend here on the left-hand side to figure out exactly what the brown dotted line indicates. And it looks like what is happening there is it's brown. Another issue that I take with this is that they use two similar shades of these colors. So this is either a footway or a bridle way. And the fact that it is the longish dotted line means that the surface quality is either unknown or a bad surface. Okay for cyclocross, trekking, or gravel bikes. So I love what CycloSM is trying to do here. The fact that it's trying to point out what type of path it is and what what the road surface is like, and even what type of bike they recommend for it. However, their implementation of it, not so good. The fact that I am not certain what each one of these is trying to tell me, not good. So if you're interested in seeing how we can make these changes to improve this map, on March 21st, we're going to be holding another event where we do a deep dive into the code, into the back end of what makes CyclOSM tick. And we will run a little bit of an experiment to try changing some of these colors, some of the line types around, so we can make it a little bit more obvious for what it is that we're actually trying to look at here, because there is a lot going on. These thin brown lines, these are just noting elevation changes. Down here, this one is noted as beginner mountain bike trail. So that is a dark blue and grayish, yeah, let's call that grayish, dark blue and grayish dotted line. So if I'm looking through here, probably a cyclocross bad surface. So hard to tell, right? There's lots of room for improvement here, but that's exactly where we'll be going. So aside from the issues with color that we've already noted, just as you are taking a look at this map here with me today, is there anything that you're seeing that you think definitely should be changed or definitely could stand to be updated? Let us know, put it in the chat, share your thoughts. We're open to hearing it. So if you see something in here that is definitely incorrect, maybe a street name is wrong, or there's been a lot of construction in your neighborhood lately, there might be a brand new road that isn't currently mapped. Users are, hey, see, there we go. Jeff says it hasn't been updated with the Match It multi-use trail. Excellent catch, thank you. So that is one of the great features of this as well, is you don't have to have coding knowledge to be able to contribute to CyclOSM or OpenStreetMaps, which it is based off of. So when we're looking to do that, right from here, I can click on the edit button and that's going to load us to OpenStreetMap. You do have to create an account to log in, but it's totally worth it. I've never had any issues with anything happening in here. My data has always been nice and safe with these guys. So I'm going to discard my previous changes because I don't know what they were. But let's say I wanted to go in here and make a change. It could be adding in a business, because that's going to be something really important about this as well. If we want to be able to let everyone know where the businesses are, where the bike racks are, where the bike pumps can be found, we're going to have to make sure those are noted on our map. So to do that, let's go ahead and zoom in and find a point or a line, something that we want to edit. Basically, all that I will have to do here is choose the spot that I am looking to change. We're around the university, so that's pretty well filled in. But if I can locate something that has not yet been marked or marked adequately, maybe it's something that is incorrect and could stand to be updated, I can edit the points. So I can give more information about the street light that's there, or maybe that street light is no longer there. I can make note of that in here. OSM makes it really easy to make these changes. All you need to do is follow the fields and put in the information that it's asking for. And if you're ever not sure exactly how to enter the info, there's the little I that we can click on and it'll give us some more information. In terms of adding trails, that's not something that I'm going to be adding right this moment, but we will be later on in the year, once it gets a little bit warmer. We're going to be running a mapping party. What this event will consist of is teaching everyone how to track a trail using their cell phone and then upload that GPS data to OpenStreetMaps. So I would put an app on my phone, I would turn it on, and then I would ride or walk the length of the Match It multi-use trail. When I'm finished, I upload that data to OpenStreetMaps, somebody else will verify it, and then bam, now it's available on there. So later on in this year, when we do run that event, I really encourage everyone to come out and learn how this works. You'll be able to use that in the future to track not only trails and routes that are missing, but you could make a trace of your favorite route to get between your 3 favorite wineries and upload that as, you know, Lauren's wine route, and hopefully other people would go for a ride on that. So if I were to upload my favorite wine route and Kieran decided he was going to go for a ride on that wine route, but he decided, I don't like this, you don't hit my favorite winery. Kieran, would you be interested in being able to share that feedback with other users on the app, leaving basically reviews on routes between businesses?
I think that that's a great feature, just to be able to communicate with the community around, you know, what, you know, the points of interest that we're going to identify and the things and the destinations that people like to, you know, might be interested in getting to, and how to get there.
Awesome. Excellent. Yeah, I could totally see myself being into that, but I also, like, maybe too much, I'm into reading reviews of businesses on Google, like everything. It's like, oh, we need to go out for dinner and I'm in a brand new city. Let me spend 3 hours reading Google reviews before I decide where we're going to go. So that might just be a me thing, because I think I do go overboard on that. So for those of you hanging out with us here tonight in the chat, what are your thoughts on being able to leave reviews and comments on trails and routes? Could you see yourself leaving reviews, like, you know, 5 stars, 3 stars, or a comment? Could you see yourself reading or referring to those when you're looking for somewhere to ride? I'm going to have some water while you think about that. Carrie commenting yes if there's maybe an obstacle or something. Got it. Okay. Yep, I definitely think that being able to comment for obstacles or even washouts would be good to be able to share. There have been times, I grew up in the county out around the Harrow area. There were times when I was younger and I'd go for a bike ride down a trail that was normally totally fine, but there had been a lot of rain and the ditch had washed up over, and unless I wanted to ride through all the water, which I generally didn't want to do, I had to turn around. So being able to get some forewarning on that would definitely be a good thing. Absolutely. So taking a look at some of our other features in here, we were discussing earlier the ability to note some bike specific points of interest. Oh, happymaps.org is a great resource for this, but I have no idea if it could be integrated into this app. So this is from Jeff. Let's go take a look at that. Happymaps.org. Okay. Bike maps team. This definitely looks like something that is an open source project that we might be able to leverage for this. This is a beautiful find. Thank you, Jeff. I want to take a look at this. Ooh, you could even download it. Nice. So the idea of being able to download this is something very useful as well. I had a few people mention in the survey responses that they would like to be able to generate a file from the Windsor Essex Cycling app that can be put onto a Garmin or other similar GPS device. How interested is everyone in something like that? Let's see, Steve says, if his time/energy doing this contributed to a community of bike riders, no, if it is just about contributing data to another online app. Jenna agrees that privacy is very important. This is absolutely a good point. And the way that we could handle that is we're not just going to be asking people to give information for the sake of giving information, but it would definitely be public facing so that if someone did leave a review, it would be visible to other cyclists to help them decide whether or not it is a trail worth riding, or worth riding for them at least. So it seems like we've got some kind of mixed feelings about that one. So I'm going to give us, to make it an octagon, because why not? We're going to make an octagon that says leaving comments / reviews on trails and routes. Too small. Okay, so this one here is in the meh section. We're not quite sure if that's something we're interested in. Let's label that as meh. Okay, so that's how we know we're not crazy about that one. All right. So yeah, how many of you use something like a Garmin GPS device when riding your bike? Would you want to be able to put a predetermined route or information from Windsor Essex Cycling onto your Garmin? Or would you be happy or prefer to just use your phone? Perhaps you have one of those fancy phone holders for your bike and you can use it that way to see the data that you're interested in. Let me know. I'm going to take a quick look back at Happy Maps while we think about that one. This looks really cool. Help me. Add a segment, type in an address or place. Okay, cool. Comfortable, uncomfortable. So let's search a place. If I want Windsor, Ontario, cool. So if I wanted to go from, click to continue drawing. Oh, I see, it's giving me the little dotted red lines. So if I want to tell it that this is where I want to go, and then for some reason I want to end up over there. Okay, interesting. Double click to complete. Ah, too long of a route. All right, noted. So Jana says, a bit off topic. I wonder if being able to find route based on how long you want to bike for. There's no such thing as off topic. Jana, I mean, maybe if you started talking about teddy bears, but it's bike related, so it's absolutely on topic. So find a route based on how long you want to bike for. That is an interesting one. I like that, but it would kind of depend on a few things. So if you're someone who cycles all the time and you cycle competitively, you're going to need a different length. You're going to need a further distance to be able to cycle for an hour compared to someone who hasn't ridden a bike in 3 years. So if we were to provide users with the opportunity to give themselves a ranking, beginner, intermediate, or expert cycler, and then choose a route that is for an hour, how would you feel about that? Carrie likes this idea. Jim had to leave. Thank you for joining us, Jim. Carrie's into this idea too? Okay. Oh, sorry, Kieran.
Yeah, no, just on that, I think it's a really interesting idea, not thinking about necessarily the destination itself, but like a length of time that you want to spend on your bike. And I think that another quote filter, if that's what we want to call it, might be the type of ride that you want to have. Do you want to go out and ride to train? Do you want to go out to ride for the leisure activity or the recreational activity that it is? And also perhaps like some of the things that you might want to see. Maybe you want to go through a conservation area, a more naturalized area. Perhaps you want to be on a roadway or a separated bike lane or whatever those things might be. I think it's really interesting to think about it rather than in terms of the destination, the actual trip itself. So I think that's a really, really good point. And I think that adds a lot to where we could, take the software development piece of this.
Yeah, I think that is a great idea. I completely agree. That's something that I think could be very specific to this app as well. None of the other cycling apps that I've tried offer something like that. It's also a great way to kind of learn a little bit more about the city. It can be easy to get stuck in that comfortable area of, I know exactly where I'm going and I ride the same route every night. Instead, just pick your beginning point, assuming that you don't want to have to be told where to start from. Have it start you from wherever you are and have it send you on a route that is 5 kilometers or an hour. Yeah, that's a great idea. Very into it. Jana says you could also save your preferences for trails, the bike you use, etc. I'm into it. Carrie asks if other apps do this. I haven't found any that do. That's not to say that none of them do, because there are a ton, but haven't seen it. Carrie says, I would love to see this app get more people cycling if we can offer amazing route suggestions. Absolutely. And that is a big part of this. Windsor is definitely a city that is driving centric, and the county, while maybe a little bit less driving centric, still seems built more for driving than cycling. So we're really hoping to be able to introduce people to more of why cycling is great. Also, it's really good for the environment. Plus, have you seen gas prices? There's no better time to start riding your bike than right now. Get people off their Peloton.
You know what? It's just on that, and I love these discussions because it gets the wheels turning, right? I wonder if we could build into it. And I think that it might not be that challenging, because there's all these metrics that look at if you did a certain thing, the environmental impact that you might have had by doing whatever it is that you did. So if we just looked at every trip and said it supplanted or it replaced a trip in a motorized vehicle that was powered off of just regular gas, it could show maybe how much money you saved by not having to spend the money on gas to get to that destination. It could also potentially show your the environmental footprint that you didn't add, what you didn't add to greenhouse gas emissions by choosing to do active transportation rather than driving in a car. And I don't know, I think that could be a nice little side project for somebody who has that type of programming expertise, to be able to spit that data out right at the end of your ride. You saved X amount of dollars, you mitigated your carbon footprint by X amount. I'd even post that.
Oh yeah, that would be cool. So Kieran, do you picture this as having something with some sort of social media integration, where kind of like people's daily Wordle scores, they could share how much they reduced their carbon footprint today?
I'm posting my Wordle score every day, so like for sure, after my ride, this is what I did. And if we sort of again spat out those easy data points to consume, I think that might be another way to help to promote people to want to get on their bikes a little bit more.
I feel like that's one that would be very divisive. People would either be like, yeah, I absolutely want the ability to share my carbon footprint reduction to my Facebook, and other people would be like, I absolutely don't want anything to touch my Facebook. So, but at least it would be an opt-in service. Now, on the topic of choosing to share data, one thing that I absolutely want to avoid with this is giving people the option to share the route that they just rode. I know there are other apps that offer it, which is why I really think we don't need to do it. Plus, I have some of my own gripes with that. I just feel like it serves a certain type of person. Kieran, you would probably be totally fine sharing the route that you just rode on your bike. I, as a woman, might not feel as comfortable doing that. And I think this is something that some of these apps don't consider, but we definitely want to try to keep people as comfortable as possible. So while we could recommend routes for you to ride, we wouldn't be making it so that people are encouraged to share their route directly from the app. There is always, of course, the ability to take a screenshot and share it if that's something you're really into. But we don't want anyone to feel like we are keeping track of where they're riding. So a whole other reason we're not going to get into keeping track of your routes. So
that's a good point.
Yeah, Jenna says, I wonder if GIS specialists from the U of W might be able to help with the building of the app from a mapping or data perspective. That is a totally excellent and fair point. Now, Jenna, I was emailing it with you earlier this week, and are you a university student yourself? I know that you run the Youth Climate Action Council, so that sounds like somebody who would be at the university or at the college who's involved with that. So let me know if you are and you have connections there. Reach out, we'll see what we can do. Jeff says Strava deals with this by allowing privacy bubbles of user selectable radius around points you identify, example, your home or workplace. That is good to know, Jeff. I was actually thinking a lot about, Jenna says she's a GIS student as well, go figure. So you are absolutely the person who would know about this. So let's connect further and we can talk about that a little bit more, Jenna. This is a great idea. To Jeff's point about Strava, I was taking a look a little while back at the Strava Metro data. So everyone who uses Strava has the option to opt out of sharing their Metro data, which is an aggregated data set that provides a heat map of where people are most likely to ride their bikes. One of the features, let's call it, of this is that anytime someone rides a route but makes it private, that data is not added to the Metro database, which absolutely makes sense. But I want people to consider, so especially Jeff, if you're using the Strava Metro data, to consider how and where to build bike infrastructure. I think it's good to consider who the people are who would be most likely to share their ride data, even if Strava is not sharing exactly where the beginning and end of my route was. It's sharing close enough to the roads that I actually rode on that I might not want to make that public. As far as I've been able to find, Strava does not provide the option to share to the Metro aggregate database without sharing the route publicly. I would never want to share any of my routes publicly, and from conversations with other bike riders, lots of women don't want to share their routes publicly. So any information that is coming from Strava Metro, I feel is very skewed towards those people with the comfort of who are comfortable sharing their route data, which is more likely to be white men of a certain age. So it's not representative enough of the entire bike riding community, I think. Just something to keep in mind. This might just me being like completely paranoid because I cannot prove any of this. It is all just theory, but something I want to point out there, keep people mindful of. So something else that I want to make everyone aware of, since you're here tonight, I can assume that you have been following along a little bit with the C3Tech project, but keep in mind too that on the Hackforge website, we do have a list every month of the events that are happening specifically for C3Tech. So if you visit hackf.org, you can go to the initiatives page and choose C3Tech. In addition to links directly to Windsor Essex Cycling.ca and information about how this project serves developers, cyclists, and businesses, there's a list of all of our upcoming events. You can also sign up to receive our newsletter. I call it a newsletter. I don't know that it's going to be regular enough to call it a newsletter, but it's at least to give updates on the project and keep everyone aware of the different events that we have coming up. So we have hit about an hour here. So I'm going to put out one last call for people to share their thoughts on this. If you do think of something afterwards that you wish you had said, please feel free to reach out. here's all the information that you need. The Hackforge website, the Windsor Essex Cycling.ca beta app, and my email address, lauren@hackf.org. Please feel free to reach out with your thoughts, questions, concerns, comments at any time, and I will always be happy to get back to you. So if no one else has anything that they want to add, maybe we can get to closing it. Kieran, do you want to say anything to close us out tonight?
Just want to say thank you to everybody once again for being here. And, even in just a short time that we've had this discussion, I think we've already added some really interesting components that may not have ever made it into the development of the app if we hadn't had this discussion. So worthwhile, and so grateful for folks taking the time and giving their thoughts and feedback on this. Again, this is only going to be as good as we collectively make it, and this is really a really good step forward in this entire process. So thank you very much to everybody for being here. And Lauren, thank you very much for leading us through this discussion. Super well done.
Thanks, Kieran. Thank you for being here, for kicking all of this off, for making it possible. This is going to be a fun year. I hope everyone stays tuned. We're going to have a lot of cool events coming up. As I mentioned earlier, later on this month, March 21st, we're going to be taking a dive into the code that runs Cycle OSM, so we can see how we can go about changing those colors and path types to make them a little bit more discernible, and more information to be released soon, but y'all are the first to hear about it. In May, we're going to be running our spring hackathon. It's going to be really good, where we will start making some more wide scale changes. So stay tuned for info on that. Sherry, Carrie, Jana, Jeff, everyone else who tuned in tonight, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your feedback and input, and I hope to see you at future events. So with that, enjoy the rest of your night, and hopefully we talk again later. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.